Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. What is up, man that canners? Thought I'd try something new today. So gentlemen, this is obviously pre-recorded and pre-edited, but I am hoping that when you listen to this today, I got married yesterday. I'm currently sitting in my office in Brisbane as I'm recording this and editing this, and it is pissing down rain. We are 3 days out from the NRL Grand Final, and COVID is rearing its little head in Queensland again, so I am very nervous and also extremely stressed about whether we will end up back in lockdown and whether mine and Amy's wedding will go ahead on the 10th. So this is obviously the 11th when it's gone live, and I am really hoping, like I said, that I got married yesterday. So there'll be a lot of spam coming out. If not, well, I'm not sure what the next steps are from that. I'll probably talk about that on a future episode. Anyway, today's guest is Brett Turley from Minimalism Fitness. Brett is an incredible guy who specializes in helping busy professionals think less and move more. I love that philosophy. And using the experience gained from special operations with 2 deployments to Afghanistan and fast growth tech startups, he knows a thing or two about resilience, high performance, and most importantly, how to shape the habits to get you there. Within this conversation, we talk about his time in the military, his deployments, how resilience training got him through the tough time, plus a whole heap of other fun banter and good conversational diverts that go along the way. So gentlemen, enjoy this, and yeah, I hope you guys are celebrating today with me that I got married yesterday. Also, while I am away, I'm not hands on deck. If you want to get started in some incredible personal development leading into Christmas, check out the Breakthrough Online experience. You can get started whenever you want. Trust me, it is a fucking brilliant program. It took me, I can't even tell you how many, over 100 hours, more than 100 hours to put together, plus the years and money that I invested in myself to be able to put that together. So enjoy it, gentlemen. There's over 70, as I mentioned last week, over 70 blokes who've gone through it and who have benefited greatly from it. Check it out. Let's get into this episode. See you soon.
You're listening to the Man That Can Project with Lachlan Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to the Man That Can Project.
I don't know what happened there, but that's frustrating.
That means we didn't even start, man. That whole little juncture and explanation of me being a dumbass going, are we recording? Wasn't recorded. So there.
But the funniest thing about that is me being the dumbass and saying, yeah, we're already recording.
Yeah, but now it doesn't even exist anymore. So
I always
we look like legends.
Yeah, exactly. And I was reframing why I always record from the start. But anyway, that's really, I always like whenever I'm in mid-conversation, throughout, and I'll just sort of swipe up a little bit on the screen and it pops up left-hand corner. It says recording and I'm like, good, we're on fire here. And I just swiped up then and it wasn't doing it. I'm like, oh no.
So good, but guess we'll have to start from the top again though then.
Yeah, bring us way back. But yeah.
Take 2, unintentional, start podcast again. Jesus Christ, look, let's go on a Friday.
This will be the 3rd episode I've fucked it up like that with recording. I literally had one guy drive up from the Goldie once and we recorded a whole episode and I used the Rodecaster Pro and it just wasn't plugged in. So we had the headsets on, we had everything going on, but the audio wasn't going through what it was supposed to go through. So it sounded, I don't talk as loud externally through here. It sounds really loud in my ears. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I won't yell. And then when I was watching back, I'm like, I can't even save that, bro. Like I'll drive down to the Goldie and we'll reshoot. And then other times where I haven't had it plugged in just then where I thought I was recording and well, I wasn't. That's really frustrating.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I've had a similar thing happen, but it was I have so many stories from my time in the military, but it's not my only crowning glory in my life. But we were filming a thing for 60 Minutes in 2008, and the cameraman was a bit of a rogue operator. Like he was just running around ground that we hadn't searched with the dogs or the mine detectors and whatnot. And he was meant to be filming this piece where I think what's his name. The presenter name, I can't remember his last name, Liam, I believe it was. And he filmed this whole thing and we were sort of just chatting away, doing our thing. And then the cameraman goes, "Oh, I didn't hit record, boss." And I've never seen like just pure hatred for someone in all my life. Like for just such a simple error. I think he would have lost his job when he got back into country. But yeah, we had to reshoot like an hour's worth of stuff.
Really?
It was yeah, out in the middle of nowhere too, where we could have got shot. It was pretty funny. But
what made you join the military? Or what? There was nothing obviously made you, but why did you decide to join the military?
No, I think it was sequential events. So my grandfather fought in World War II. My dad was in the military but never went anywhere. He was in the period of the time in the military where they just didn't deploy anywhere.
Yeah.
So he was extremely jealous when I got my first and second trip to Afghanistan. But it was, and then my uncle too, which I had a large amount of respect for. My uncle was a legend. He was in the army as well for like 30 years, 25 years, I think. So it was just probably indoctrination from a family level that inspired me to go into the military. And then like leaving school at 17, I was sort of, it's either that or go to uni, really. That were my prospects. So I went and joined the military.
Yeah, nice. What was the highlight? Was Afghanistan or going to Afghanistan like the highlight, or was like when you join the military? Is that like one of the end goals? You're like, I want to be deployed, or do you just do it for obviously various other reasons?
I think the majority of us. I explain it in the analogy of it's like training every day for a game of rugby, right, and never getting to have a run on the field. Like. Yeah. That's what you do. You drill for years. Like some of the guys that ended up getting a trip when I was in had been like soldiers for like 10 years, and they finally got a run at the trip. And some guys even missed out too. So you see the guys on Anzac Day without any medals and whatnot, which there's no shame in that. Like it's all timing. It's all relevant to what you got a chance to do. But if I didn't sort of get a chance to deploy, I don't think I would have looked back as fondly on my time in, particularly my second rotation with the Commandos and Special Operations. That was like the pinnacle of my dog handling career.
Is that like the stuff that you see on the movies, like the Commandos and the Special Forces sort of stuff?
Yeah, so like that's the way I explain it. You see all the American sort of dramatized movies. There's a couple of really good depictions of Afghanistan, though. There's some really good films out. But, yeah, you see, like, the sort of work we were doing. We were doing a lot of counter-drug operations with the Drug Enforcement Agency from the US.
Yep.
So we'd fly in on target when they were making, like, opium or morphine or processing the poppies, and then we'd destroy the processing gear. We'd blow it up and then leave. Like, doing cool stuff like that. Like you get a call at like 4 a.m, like, yeah, job's on at 6, and you get your gear on, go get your dog out of the kennel and get straight on a bird and fly out to some weird place and spend like 48 hours with like no sleep, walking around doing your business.
Like a helicopter or something? Or what?
Yeah. So we were flying in Chinooks, the big double-bladed ones, and the American choppers. And yeah, so and those stupid Ospreys, those dual-wing choppers that turn into planes. If we've got any military sort of nerds on the podcast, but they're the worst thing in the world. They're the slowest thing to land in ever. And when you've got rockets getting flung at you, they're not great to be in. But
no, yeah. I couldn't imagine it'd be the safety hub that you want to be holding.
No. But that was part of the journey, man. Like I got to do everything. Like I got blown up in 2009 in a vehicle. I got shot at heaps of times like that. I can't even count how many times I got shot at.
What's it like being shot at, man? Because like I know from playing Call of Duty and just even watching movies, like it's nothing like. Oh, I would just imagine it's fucking nothing like because you keep respawning when you die in Call of Duty, you're back.
But when it's pretty much the same. It's if you ever want to sort of understand what the sound sounds like, probably the best movie I've ever seen with like the depiction of the sounds. Saving Private Ryan was good, but not my era. So I never had to storm a beach at Normandy. So it was probably different. But Lone Survivor, Mark Wahlberg. If you want to, there's a particular moment in the movie where he's one of the boys is up against the rock and he's getting shot at.
Yep.
That was the first movie that I watched since I got back from Afghanistan that actually made me like jump and get my heart rate up. I was like, oh, Jesus, that sounds exactly like it is.
Who's that? What's the name of the guy? Who's that film's based off Lone Survivor? Is it because he was on Joe Rogan recently, or not even recently, but I was listening to his episode a while ago, and he was talking about it. He's like, "Oh, the military movies are such bullshit, and like none of us guys like watching them." But Lone Survivor was like that one where it gave us goosebumps and stuff.
Yeah, it's been like you see a couple of those like guys that have been like the operators have got to see some shit when they deployed. Like they all agree that film's probably the best one that's been done. Like in regards to realism. Yep. I met a few of the SEALs on my second trip, and they were fucking some weird dudes, man. But you got to be like a special forces operator. Like I was just special operations. I didn't have to do a rigorous like 12-month selection. I did an in-unit one for the engineer unit I was in, which is pretty tough, but it wasn't anything compared to like the commandos and the SAS. They put them through the ringer. So it sort of changes you in that respect. You become a different sort of human being when you go through that. So
are a lot of those guys like single and stuff when they're going through that and they come out like the other side? Or, as you say, like they come out a different person. Many of them, are they married with families and stuff prior and then come out a completely different beast?
Everyone comes out of it a completely different beast. Like I had a few friends go through and pass, and then I had a few friends go through and fail. Like a lot more go through and fail. The failure rate's pretty huge there because they only pick the cream of the crop.
Yep.
You can literally finish the Carter course of the 28 days or whatever it is, and it can still tell you no. Like it's not a tick and flick like attendance course. And you could literally be perfect for them, but they could also be capped for numbers and go, come back next year, mate, because it's no skin off their nose. So it does change those boys. But geez, man, like if you ever wanted a group of people to support you, like that was it. Those guys were solid operators. I just loved working with them. There was a time 4 a.m. in Helmand province in Afghanistan. We were walking up this dark alleyway and the shoot threat was really high. So in other words, there's bad guys in the area. But the IED threat was higher. So standing on an improvised explosive device. So that put me at the front of the group, right, looking down this big dark alleyway, and it was just eerily quiet. And they're like, yeah, Brett, you go down there. And I'm like, all right. And I was packing it. I had my dog. He was going out searching, sniffing the ground and that. And I look around and here they are with their fingers in their ears, like taking the piss. And I turned around, like we had radios, and I was like, you guys are fucked. And off I went back up the road searching. Like they're just funny dudes. But they were solid, man. They always had your back. Such a good sort of brotherhood. Like we talk about mateship, like that sort of stuff like stays with you for the rest of your lives. You meet such awesome people, you bond with such extreme moments. And it's just stuff that sticks with you for the rest of your life, really.
What do you reckon makes them like the cream of the crop in that field? Like, is there any attributes that you could almost like see other people who are the top of their field match up, or are they just like a completely different fucking animal?
Yeah, I used to think professional athletes were similar. Like I used to have a pretty good, like athletes are a different grain of person regardless too, because they've got to fight so hard to get to the top of their game. And particularly if you talk about making money, like a lot of athletes don't make money, some do. Yeah. And they're similar, but the difference between like special operations and like high performers elsewhere you are getting paid well under market value to do the job you're doing. You do it because you love it. Like it's like the 70s professional rugby league type thing. Like you'd go to work, but then still play on the weekend for top grade, but you're doing it because you love it. It's like we were only making like low six figures a year. That's tax free as well. But like the jobs we were doing were insane, man. Like it's the mindset's very similar, but you've got to be a special kind of like human being that just does it because they're I don't think you're born for it. I think you're built for it. But it takes a very special human being to be able to do that stuff and then pass selection. Oh, and looping back to your question about being single and married and stuff, a lot of the boys, it's a single man's life. Like divorce rates are huge and that sort of stuff. But that comes part and parcel with the type of work we did, I guess. Like you can't come out of it with a few scars and bumps. And as you change so much, you change throughout your life. And you shift your channels and your friendship groups and things like that. So it's pretty indicative of what you'd expect. Like most guys end up getting married in or are married, and like a few stay together, but the divorce rate's pretty rife throughout.
Yeah, it's probably like obviously with the time away and the kind of lifestyle that it is, would definitely from my understanding of it, seems challenging. That's for sure. Like, when you said they're born, not built, do you feel like that can go across other areas as well? Because I often know so many men that I speak with, or just people in general, you'll always hear, oh, he's genetically gifted, or, he got lucky here. And there's all these excuses popping up as to why people feel like they can't achieve certain things in their life. And they almost like hold on to that like it's a safety blanket. But, from what you said, like it can be built. Do you believe that?
Yeah, it's 100% built, not born. Like you can be born genetically gifted, right? But how many people do you know have got fantastic genes that never do anything with them? So like it's part of, like, you look at the sort of people they are built, and they're broken down, then built again into the shape that they're meant to be. But it's like with anything, right? Like people that blame, I think the only sort of arena where you can probably say genetics is definitely going to be suitable is like that top echelon of professional sport, right? Genetics has absolutely everything to play for it. And then getting through injury-free, and then also learning the game craft and actually being good at your skill.
Yep.
So that comes into it. But these boys, like some were studs, man, like ripped, 6 foot something, built like brick shit houses. If you've ever seen like Ben Roberts-Smith, absolute mountain of a man, awesome dude too. But he genetically the epitome of what a soldier should look like. And then you've got other people like Mark Donaldson, who won the VC. I did my promotion course, I think in 2011 with 2010 with him. He's my height, a little bit thicker set. And you wouldn't look at him in the pub and just go, oh, he's in the SAS and he's won a VC, right? He just looks like a normal dude. He's just, he's got an amazing book out. If you read like his journey, he had certain intersectional points or forks in the road where he could choose to stay mediocre, or he could go a path that's challenging but ultimately more rewarding. And that's like with anyone that sees success, right? Even though someone's genetically gifted, it doesn't mean they're going to play the top grade of a sport. And even because someone's physically gifted in soldiering, it doesn't mean they're going to hit the pinnacle of that either. It's very much a bit of luck, not to get injured, but a lot of just hard work, front end in, man. Like you can't replace hard work in anything, really.
What made you leave the military?
So that was at the stage, like we talked about, like single and being in a relationship. First trip, 2008, 2009, I was single and it was easy, man. Like just mowed it along, did my job. It was perfect because I was in an environment where that was my mission and that was it. And then 2012, I'd met my my ex-wife at that stage, and it was either go back for the third time 6 months after I got back, or get out. So I probably could have stayed in and posted somewhere to a quieter place or whatever, but I was really just burnt out, man. My family sort of gave me the ultimatum, like, you shouldn't go back again, because it was a pretty busy trip, that second one. But I was also just mentally and physically burnt out. 2 trips. That trip we saw a lot of action. And I just needed to have a break. So, and I'd also probably, I think, grown out of the politics of the military too. Like, I love questioning things and understanding why. I think that's what makes a good coach, when you can question things enough to understand or gain an understanding to then be able to change or help someone. I think it was just the pinnacle of a few things. I joined when I was 17, wanted to see what else was out in the world, and off I went.
Did you have that next step for you? Like, it's such a common thing where athletes, and we've spoken about athletes, but like athletes, after they retire, they generally go through that time in their life where they don't know what's next for them, and they might have low self-worth, lacking identity, and some of them completely destroy themselves, and others end up, doing commentary or coaching or public speaking or various other things. And they knew that, like a good mate of mine, Will Zillman, when he retired, he was studying veterinary science and had public speaking stuff to go through. So the transition for him out of like life after rugby was, fine. Whereas you see some people trouble. So for yourself, did you have an idea of what you wanted to do next, or did you just throw the Hail Mary and go after it?
Just pop smoke, mate. just pop smoke and bugged out. Which I did. Like, I didn't really have a plan. And then I was training at home one day at my dad's place, and and my partner said, "You'd actually be a really good coach." And so I went down the path of becoming a PT, and with my dad, he'd run businesses his whole life. So started a business at a kitchen table one day, and off I went. So that probably wasn't the best exit looking back on it. I think it was just a lack of preparedness, and combine that with a healthy dose of burnout and PTSD, really. Like, if we look at what happened, like on my trips and that, like, you can't sort of not be scarred from things like that. But I just sort of got out and went at it. And I was lucky I just had that work ethic, I guess, and a big enough brain to try and sort of solve it as I went.
Yep. Did you obviously experience trauma from those trips away to Afghanistan and stuff?
Yeah. So, like, obviously being blown up doesn't do you much good. Shot at numerous times. 3 of my mates got killed there as well. Darren, Rowan, and Scotty. Sequential years as well. Yep. I was also the best man at Darren's wedding. I'm still in touch with his wife and their son. I'm a young Mason. He's a legend of a human being. He's grown up so well, considering the bumpy start he had. But that sort of stuff, like, sticks with you. The mates thing was obviously pretty tough, but really, like, I've had, like, my 20s were just fucking hectic, to be honest, man. Like, I went through like a 10-year stage of probably pretty severe trauma, even when I left the military, and whilst building a business. So I burnt myself out again running the fitness thing. I owned a gym down here on the South Coast, and I was just tapped out. But that came off the back of building a business from scratch. I lost my dad 1 year. The following year, I lost my daughter at birth. And then the morning that happened, had a best mate stabbed to death by a paranoid schizophrenic. And then 2 days after that, my pop died of cancer. So it's just hectic, man. It's just this crazy, crazy journey.
It's like a movie sort of thing that doesn't seem like it's possible to all happen at once.
Yeah, and then I had my son in 2016, like 13 months after we lost our daughter at birth. Like, it was just a crazy ride, man. Like, and we talk about change and that sort of stuff. I was faced with so many points of having no momentum. I know momentum is one of your key philosophies. I love it because, like, action breeds consistency breeds momentum, and then momentum breeds discipline, right? I faced so many junctures in that sort of decade where I had no momentum. I was burnt out. I was depressed. I was, like, just lost. And then the people around me were suffering too, because they'd lost people they loved and things like that. So I was faced with, like, numerous forks in the road where I could have chosen, like, that just run and hide mentality where I just get an average job there's nothing wrong with having an average job. I'm not knocking that. It's just not my personality style. I need to be challenged and consistently progressing and moving just by the way my brain works. But I just made those choices as I went, man. It was tough, but you just do it.
Is there anything else that went into it though? Because I think, like, I'm very aligned with how you say it. For me, it's just like, just fucking get in and do it, and you'll figure it out as you go. And you're obviously going to have some shit that pops up, some negative thoughts or trauma or raise its head. And like, for me, it's just, I'll work through it, rather than a lot of people just are at the effect of that. And is there anything else that like stands out for you that you did through that period of just cracking on with it to move through it? Because and obviously some context to, like, everyone's trauma and experiences are all relative, right? And some people, as you said, like, there comes a fork in the road. You can either be at the effect of that and it can run your life, or you can choose to take control for what's happening and move forward from it and start creating more of what you want from your life.
Yeah, I explain it talking to my guys that sort of had similar paths, or if they're a bit down on themselves. I give them a question. I go, do you want it to be an excuse for the rest of your life? Or do you want it to be an experience that guides you to the next stage? Like, it's a mindset thing, and it's hard to, but particularly how you've been brought up, what the mentality was at home, in those formational years, the sort of people you're hanging out with. Then in your 20s, what you go and do for a job, what you experience, how far you put yourself in the deep end, so your comfort zone, what that range is. But the big things that I like, I tried the blunt force, just deal with it, like, be quiet, just knuckle down and get it done bit, and that doesn't work, man. Like, it does for little short, sharp bursts, but probably the best things I went and did, like, to help me, like, jump the hurdle, was I actually engaged a psychologist, which, like, was really, really a big game changer for me, in the sense that it finally normalized what I was feeling. Because other people suffer the same thing. And you mentioned the relative part. My stress and what I was feeling through those times is exactly the same as someone going through their version of hard, right? So it's not me saying, oh, look what I've been through, I'm better than everyone. It's actually got nothing to do with it. The physiological symptoms and the feelings and the mental anguish are exactly the same. So by having it normalized, that allowed me just to accept it and go, oh, cool. Like, I'm just going through a rough patch.
Yeah.
And then I just dug into, like, self-care, meditation. I think, like, I got some ungodly amount of streaks in the meditation app I was using.
How fun. It's so addictive when you get the streak.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I just rolled into it and I just got stuck in. So I made the promise to myself, because I had my young boy at that stage too. I made the promise to myself that I need to be an example for him, but I needed to do it for myself, because I'd seen so many mates struggling. I'd had a lot of mates commit suicide by that point, leaving the military. I saw what they were doing and the sort of mindset and stuff like that. I've never been raised that way. So I just got to work by it and actually did the right things, as opposed to just going hard at something. I sat back with it, observed the landscape, found out what I could do, what suited me on an interest level, and then I just went and did it. And it took time, and you just have setbacks, but it's just an attitudinal thing where you sort of, like, you get faced with that question, excuse or experience. Simple as that.
Takes the confusion out of it. And I think a lot of us don't want to make a decision because we're worried about whether it be the wrong one, or whether we're wasting time or looking like a dick or various other things. But if you just look at it as you said, experience and what was that? Sorry, experience and
excuse. Yeah.
Excuse. It's like you've got one or two choices. And when I hear excuse, I'm like, I don't want to be a fucking soft cock and make an excuse. Like, that's not how I want to do things. And when, like, for me, for anyone who gets offended by me saying, because I've had people reach out, why are you calling people soft cocks? I'm like, for me, I can talk to myself however I want. And for me, I am very action orientated and I understand my mind a lot. I still have heaps of shit going on, but for me, I know what my thresholds are. And there's times where I just don't step up. I listen to the excuses in my head. And for me, that's me being soft. Like, I'm not showing up today. And in order for me to get what I want from my life, I have to show up, because no one else is going to show up for me.
Yeah, but the thing is too, like there's going to be days where you can't show up too, and normalizing that. Um, and however you like talk to yourself, as long as it's motivational, like and it guides by your values,
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter. Like people love to take offense to things that either offend their value set or expose a weakness in their value set, right? And then you get the people that go on the journey of just like discovering themselves and then realizing everyone else's opinions doesn't fucking matter.
Exactly.
And then they're more content about the world. Of course, we all have that deep-seated sense of like fear of rejection, what happens if I fail, all that sort of stuff. But it's only when you start to still take the steps, even if you're scared shitless. Well, that's what bravery is, right? It's not, you see people using the word hero and that sort of stuff. It's not really. Like bravery is where you're shit scared, absolutely fucking petrified, where you barely can move, but you still take a step. You take a step. When most people don't, they back out of it like they do, and you just take a step. Like that, and it's a learnt thing, but it's also how you were raised and all those things. So understanding what value set you were given as a child, as a young adult, working out if that's in alignment with your values that you want to shape and take with you, and then making the effort to change. You get these people that like go on that journey, then realize I don't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. And they're just more content. And then the people that take offense to it, like social media is an amplifier for idiots. Let's be honest. Like
Right.
if you're one of those people that like are commenting and fighting with people online, unless you're doing it for shits and gigs, like I've got mates that do that just to rise people. That's pretty evil. But like if you're doing it out of pure offense, you're either there's challenging your values, exposing a weakness, or you don't have something that's driving you strongly enough where you just go, I don't care about that. And it's offensive to people because it shows them that they're deeply unhappy with it themselves, so they get upset about it.
That's what for me, when people like have a different opinion, it's not even, there's moments in time where you realize in a conversation, it doesn't matter if I change your mind or not. I'm not here to try and impress you with a big, dick swinging competition, because that's where a lot of people arc up. And especially when you look at like alpha males and they don't ever want to seek to understand, or they don't want to be proven wrong. So where they'll just get in these heated debates. And I love healthy conversation where, I have the opportunity to learn a different way of thinking, which is, even from talking to you, I'm learning. And it's going to do one or two things. Like I'll change my view on things, or it'll solidify my belief. But there's also times where the person I may be having a conversation with doesn't enable that kind of discussion. So for me, I'm just like, well, I'm not even going to facilitate this shit, because it's not going to, I'm not going to have an impact on you, and it's only going to make me frustrated.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the fake alpha, right? A fake alpha will use an overly large amount of aggression to intimidate people.
Yep.
Yet a real alpha person, yes, they will compete and be competitive and actually try and stump you in their argument. They'll actually compete, but unless they're in an environment that requires aggression, they don't use it, because then they just sit back and go, yeah, fair enough. That's your opinion. That's cool, man. Like I've been in environments where you have to use pure aggression, and alphas are really strong in that sense because they can use it, then they can switch it off too. But then you get the people that take aggression as their first like battering ram into the argument. It just means they're not in control of themselves emotionally. They present as an alpha. They're usually probably relatively fit, or at least pretty intelligent, but they're unconfident or concerned about something about it, which makes them take that aggression to the argument. So they think they are, but they're not really.
Yeah.
And you just let them. They're just really angry beta males, really, to be honest.
Did you do a fair bit of like within the military? Some of the training you would have done would have been designed solely to crack you, right? Like mentally, just to make you give up. Was there a lot of that sort of stuff? Because once again, from what you see on the movies, training day and all these sorts of things, like, man, just the training camp in itself looks like an experience that as someone who loves like endurance events, and from a fitness standpoint, I'm like, I'd love to see what that style of training looks like. But is that whole intention there to just break you and build mental resilience?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the general army, it's not hammered as home as hard as the SF sort of community. But the purpose of those types of processes is to rip away your identity and then give you the new one that they want to issue you with. It's just like a uniform.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not in a bad way, but if you're a soldier, you're going to be asked at points to do things that may not necessarily be safe or aligned to your personal values, but you're a part of a team and you need to do things that are for the betterment of the team and not just yourself. So that's the whole process of it. And then the SF sort of selection, that is designed to see who comes out the other side, because they only want the best of people in there. They lose a lot of guys, a lot of good guys to injury, but that's part of the process. And that's the risk the guys that apply for it go through. But that is so they get the individuals into a regiment and they're able to teach, and they know they're teachable. They can give them the skills and the craft that they need, and they're going to do well.
It sounds so exciting, but so brutal. But what things would you then be able to utilize, like just in everyday life? Like, we're dealing with so many, even look, for example, at COVID and stuff like that. Like some people seem to be, once again, it's all relative, but some people seem to be handling what's going on in the world right now well, and others not so well. Like why do you think that is? And what do you think people can look to start doing to improve that in the future?
Yeah. So the first part, why people aren't and are dealing with it, I think if you look at the fundamentals of it, this is obviously only my opinion, but if you look at the fundamentals of it, if you're an individual that's already struggling for something, or they're struggling in their life, or they're not as content, or they don't have a set plan or purpose, it's that momentum thing again. Like when we leave the military, we sometimes lose our purpose in life. I'm lucky I've found it again through coaching and going and building this app that I'm building, like to help people.
What app are you building?
I'm on the path of building a corporate wellness app that helps uses real-time data analytics to help shape positive habits for people. Okay. So help improve physical fitness and mental fitness as well, but also having a corporate aspect to it where the poor old end user that gets fleeced for cash usually doesn't have to pay for it, but it gives organizations a big view of how their staff are performing, how much they're sleeping, to actually help them properly, as opposed to just assuming what they think they know. But that's all going to kick off next year.
Exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I'll probably make a lot of errors in that. There'll be a next jump in the evolution scale, I guess, for me. But if you look at people that were already struggling, didn't have much of a purpose, weren't necessarily enjoying their life, were unfit, weren't in great routines, by then also stripping away the freedoms that they have, which we didn't strip anything away. You just got told to stay home. But the perception of having that safety stripped, it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I guess.
Yep.
Physiological and mental safety and things like that, they struggle. The people with purpose and people with a mission that they want to just continue on with, it might upset them, but they continue on with it anyway. It's the old Winston Churchill, keep calm and carry on. They just sort of do their thing. And then you've got the other sort of left of field people that get torpedoed by like losing their job and things like that. That's pretty traumatic. And then they fall into that first category of not really having a plan or safety and things like that.
I think so many people haven't found their purpose. Like it's such a buzzword, yeah.
Yeah, it's a broad thing, but if you look in terms of generalized sort of what we see in time, like people are force-fed narratives of what to think, how to think, and it's hard to think for yourself. I think it's hard to establish a value set that's going to guide you for the rest of your life. Like I have my value set that I live by, and it makes it so much easier to make decisions because I have the underpinning values of what I want to live my life like that guide me to where it is. And they're simple as 3 Bs, right? Be grateful, be useful, be consistent. And that's it. That's as simple as it is. But then I searched and I went through the peaks and troughs of life to find purpose doing what I'm doing. So I threw myself in the mud to find it. But I think the value set's really important. I don't think people really ponder on what what it actually means to live a life well lived these days. Like, it's the old stoicism approach, like think about life, think about the morbidity of life as well, because it can be over really quickly. I think that's a really big problem because we're forced a lot of values, I guess, through social media and things like that. But that's a big thing. But then also, depending on your grooming and pedigree in life, economic classes have a lot to do with it. If you've got a wealthy family or you've got dual income with two people being paid well, you can afford to have someone lose their job. Like there's so many variables that can knock someone off an even keel. But if we look at it at an intrinsic level, I just don't think people know what they want because they don't spend enough time searching for it because it's hard. And it challenges the way they usually live.
Yeah. You bang on. I think a lot of people, are looking outside themselves for that purpose rather than, taking what they've already got. We've got so many, I'm 30. I think I was saying this on a podcast yesterday. I feel like I've already said this, but 30 and I've got all this lived life experience, as do you, Brett. And for anyone who's listening, it's like we've got all this experience, and within that we can reflect upon what we liked, what we didn't like, who we want to hang around, who we don't, and where we want to go for the future. But because our phones are constantly saying you need to do this or you need to do that, it's like, do I really? Like, all right, cool, I'll do that, and it's pulling you further away rather than going, man. Like, especially when the older you get, the easier it should be really to understand yourself if you can get comfortable with looking within. Like, there is a lot of stuff that's fucking uncomfortable. Like, I had to own a lot of stuff that I'd done previously that I'd always put my head in the sand around because it made me feel, and I'd either turn to alcohol or drugs or sex as a way to avoid it. But once I started to really sit with it and go, cool, I did do that, but I don't want to do that in the future. I don't want to carry the guilt and shame anymore. I want to be able to grow into this kind of person and talk about it, and it sort of sets you free to a degree. And I think because purpose seems to be all over social media and such a buzzword, we are constantly looking outside ourselves for that purpose.
Yeah, the things I'm a firm believer, until you've got your shit in one sock, your own personal values and the way you want to operate, you should just focus Yeah, you should. It's an army adage. Sorry about that.
Never heard it.
You should completely focus on doing that until you're at a point you're content, right? Because I've done that stuff too. Like I used to drink pretty heavy. I don't drink anymore. Had a dabble in drugs when I left the military because that was another coping mechanism, though I never really got addicted to anything there. But I made the hard decision to stop drinking a couple of years ago. And everyone's like, oh, what are you doing that for? I'm like, well, I guess it doesn't suit my values and the way I want to live, which people couldn't comprehend. But until you get your shit organized to a point you are content with it, you should not be going outside externally to have someone else or something else validate that for you. And that's the hard bit, because it's easier to go get affection or have a beer and feel better about yourself than it is to actually sit with it and go, I've got to make some changes. And then the subsequent hard work that comes after making the decision. It's like talking about that change journey. I give people 8 questions and I could tell how ready they are to change, and then put the support structure around them based on what they've answered poorly and what they haven't. And then it really off-puts people because it really highlights the fact that they've got some really weak areas or there's a lot of work to do. And then they'll just revert to previous learned or first learned behaviour, which is the strongest response. So you've just got to sit there and repeat that fucking process until you get yourself into a position where you're content. And then if you've got the capacity to help others, you should be bloody doing that. If you've got your shit enough in one sock and you've gone and taken the time to take care of yourself, and like particularly through like COVID, perfect example, I had plenty of range because I looked after myself the years coming into it. I got fitter through COVID because I just had more time because I wasn't commuting. And then I had range to help people again. And that's why I started my business again and started training people for free because people were honestly in a really bad mental state. And I just did it because I had range and capacity to do it, but I focused on myself first. And I'm not perfect. I made heaps of errors along the way. Fuck, this is not not a high horse story at all. I'd probably be riding a Shetland fucking pony if that was the case.
Little shorty.
Yeah, but like I've made heaps errors, but I was exactly like what you said, Lockie. Like I got to a point where I went, people may hate me forever for some of the things I've done. I don't have to hate myself forever though. And I can live my life to a set of values that doesn't let that sort of stuff happen again. And I can move on.
Bang on. It's choice.
Yeah, it's people are really the negativity bias within people really stifles a positive mindset based on previous negative experiences, the ways you're raised, and the particular life stage. And you take a few kicks in the guts, you're naturally going to think a bit more negatively. And breaking out of that takes repeated process. So it's the old habit looping, the structure, like the trigger, response, reward, like cue or trigger, response, reward, and that cycle, right? So you can break it and get out to another more stronger response. You just keep repeating it as many times as you need to until you learn the fucking lesson.
Well, it's exactly as we were touching on earlier. It's like if you take time to reflect within, you can sort of see why you keep fucking up or what's not working well for you. And then when you're ready to take a different action, then you can. But whenever people say, what was that main turning point for you? I'm like, well, now that I know what I know, there's probably 5 years of slaps in the face where I should have woken up to myself. I just wasn't ready to see it yet. And like, I think had I not had all of those to the point, maybe that moment that was there that I say was the turning point mightn't have been the turning point. And it's definitely that negativity bias. There's a great book. Have you read 48 Laws of Power?
No, I haven't.
Mate, you will absolutely fucking love it. It's a thick read. Like takes some brain power, but it's a brilliant book.
Yeah, I read a good book on biases and heuristics. Probably last year sometimes, but it was Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yeah, I couldn't get through that.
It was hard, man. It was a hard read because it's very data driven and scientific sort of outlay. But the gems of it, like if you could get through it and sort of get through the sticking points of it being sort of more of an academically written book, like just the biases and sort of understanding why you make the decisions you do. And that's the thing. If you want to grow, you've got to change your current habit structure and the way you operate to grow, right? So books are a great way to start it. Finding people that have done it before yourself and joining that community are a great way. That's a really good way to accelerate progress because you add that extrinsic accountability of people being disappointed in you if you make a commitment and you don't carry through with it.
Yep.
Like all of those things, you got so many things in your arsenal that can sort of like accelerate the progress, but it's got to start with that one step. And when you have a setback, you just got to get back on the wagon and go again. But it's tough. Like it's just one of those things. It's a daily renewable contract when you're going on that change journey.
100%.
And if you fuck it up one day, you got to be willing to get up again in the next morning and go again. And then unfortunately with relationships, like people get tired of that, or you outgrow your previous relationships, or they outgrow you. And like Jesus, I'm a single dad. Like I get my son for a portion of the time, which I absolutely love, and I make the most of it. And I wouldn't change being separated from my first marriage because it caused the biggest growth period of my life. Yep. So not bagging other people out. It's a very important part too, like the blame game. You got to drop that shit. And it's hard. It's tough. Especially blokes. We're arrogant. We're a bit egotistical sometimes. You got to swallow your pride with this sort of process. It's hard to do.
I don't think you're always going to be perfect. Like, well, I'm speaking from my own experience. Like I go through phases where I'll be on point for 6 months, even with meditation, for example, like you'll hit that awesome streak and then you'll fall off the wagon. Or I'll notice if I'm hanging around certain people, I might drop my standards to start talking how they're talking or talking about other people in ways that they are. And then, I might carry on with that for 2 weeks. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm just a product of my environment now, and what I want for myself and the life that I'm creating can't tolerate that. Like I have to go back to the standards that I've set to achieve that outcome. But Bretto, you, obviously specialise in helping busy professionals think less and move more, which I think is just fucking brilliant, because I think that's what busy professionals need. And I think that's why your app's going to be brilliant. But for people who want to get in, I got one question for you after this, but for people who have liked what we've sort of touched on and what I really love about what you do, obviously you incorporate a similar approach to me where it's the mind and the body, which I think we are all one in regard to that. The physiology affects your psychology and vice versa, as they always say. How can people get in contact with you and find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, so the easiest way is obviously the socials, Minimalism Fitness, but you've also got the website, minimalismfitness.com. What I could do, though, I'll set up a landing page. I'll have some free goodies for your audience.
Oh, yeah.
Chuck it in the show notes. I'll give you guys all my my mobility content. It's all free on YouTube too. Like I run a free content policy with it because I just want people to learn and get something out of it. But I'll put together a page for you guys to all go to, grab some free goodies, and hopefully it helps. It's just about spreading the word, I guess.
Yeah, epic. So guys, check out the show notes to be able to do that, whatever platform you're listening on at the moment. One last question, and then I got a jet. What's your definition of being a man?
Oh, we've covered so much of the topic. I actually had a podcast earlier in the week and I asked the similar question of the definition of being a good father. And the hardest thing that I get people to try and focus on is that values. Define a set of values that make you live the life you want to live. Don't take them from anyone else. Define them yourself and do the fucking work until you get there. You don't have to take my values. You don't have to take anyone else's, but do the work. You're going to come up trumps if you do that. And that's really what a good man should do, particularly if they're a parent, particularly if they're in a relationship they actually want to keep a hold of. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Just focus on your values and drive yourself until you get to where you need to go.
Yeah, that's bang on. Love it, mate. Well, I've got to really take the time to appreciate you coming on, mate. It's been an awesome chat. I'm spewing that first 9 minutes we missed because that was gold. I was like, this is one of the greatest combos I've had in a very, very long time. So, mate, appreciate you coming on. I love the work that you're doing, and I look forward to finding out what those free goodies are for everyone tuning in at the moment. But we'll definitely stay in contact, and I have a feeling we'll be able to do a few more potties.
Yeah, no problems at all. Thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.